Welcome to History Saver 1941 and welcome to day 3 of Gettysburg, July the 3rd, 1863. We are in the Coast Patrice. So what is the Coast Patrice? Stick around and find out. The following contains images that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. All right, guys, so we're on day 3, July the 3rd, 1863. And where we're standing right now is a place I've dreamed of standing since I was a little kid. Behind me, you will see artillery, artillery, artillery. Cannons as far as your eye can see. And that does not do it any justice to what it looked like here on July the 3rd, 1863. And why were there so many guns here? Well, Robert E. Lee wanted to end it. He enjoyed a success on July the 1st, a partial success on July the 2nd, and in the far distance, right to me, is the clump of trees. That was the target for Robert E. Lee and the Confederate Army. They opened up on July the 3rd with a tremendous artillery barrage. And a lot of the shots were actually missing their marks. But on July the 3rd, this was one of the biggest charges and assaults in American military history and has been since then. If you look behind me, you will see the positions, the very same spot where all of these men stood on July the 3rd. It is said that that Pettigrew's unit is what started the assault and the charge across the field here on the 3rd of July. They were the first ones. Pettigrew was the first one across this field. Pickett had his men rallied. They went across the field. And there were so many Confederate generals that fell, and Union generals alike that fell during this battle, that it was just absolutely unbelievable. Now, history often says that General Pickett and the Virginia's role in this assault were greater than the expense of the other states. That's not really true. More than half of the participants in this assault were from not Pickett's command, but were also from Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and in this area where we're at, North Carolina. The North Carolinians were a major part of General Henry Heath's division. whose 4 brigades have seen heavy combat and casualties on July the 1st. His division, now up under Johnson Pettigrew, was broadly arrayed to the north and south of this point. Behind Pettigrew, command of the mortally wounded General Dorsey Pender's division was given to 61-year-old Major General Isaac Trimble. Only 2 of Pender's brigades were used in the attack, so Trimble's command was much smaller than Pettigrew's. Because of heavy losses 2 days earlier, estimates of Pettigrew and Trimble's strength are speculative, are not known for an exact number. Pettigrew's effective decision of strength ranged from 4,000 to 5,000 men, while Trimble's 2 brigades added perhaps 2 to 2,300 men to the Confederate attack. And we are going to go over and we're going to see the North Carolina State Memorial. It's one of the 11 southern state monuments that were dedicated along Confederate Avenue, which is right here. And these memorials represent all the troops from all the states that fought at Gettysburg. Now, the North Carolina Monument is probably one of the most popular monuments in Gettysburg, and it is one of the most detailed Confederate sculptures here. It was dedicated July the 3rd, 1929, and is the work of Gutzon Borgulum, I'm terrible with names, who also carved the presidents on Mount Rushmore. So the same man who carved the North Carolina monument that you see in the background is the same man who carved Mount Rushmore. So we're going to go over and we are going to take a look at this for ourselves. Okay, so this is the North Carolina monument, and probably one of the most popular monuments here at Gettysburg. The same man who carved this monument carved Mount Rushmore. So let's go take a look at this. So if you look from the rear, you'll notice the men are leaning forward, and that is because they're headed towards a clump of trees, and you have the one North Carolinian pointing forward, having his man go forward towards the Union positions on the other side of the hill, straight ahead of us. This is the site of Pickett's charge. Now, off in the distance, we also have the Tennessee monument, and the men are facing their way forward across the field. And when these men cross this field, they come up under very heavy artillery fire. And then as they got closer to the road and to that clump of trees, they come in range of rifle fire. And men just started dropping everywhere.
Virginians! With me! Who will come with me? Go forward! Let the star alone! Let the star!
So all to the left and directly to the right of me in line were Confederate troops. Men from Tennessee, North Carolina, Alabama, all these men moving forward to that one spot that we see in front of us. This is July the 3rd, Gettysburg at its finest. Okay, so we've moved down the line a little bit and we are now at the Virginia Monument. Probably one of the other most impressive monuments here on the battlefield, and this is the first monument to a southern state here on the Gettysburg battlefield. And as you can see the clump of trees right through there. And this was the spot where the Virginia men were. And it's also said that General Robert E. Lee watched much of the action from that afternoon's battle from this location. So if you were ever wondering where General Robert E. Lee watched the battle from here in Gettysburg, it was right here in this spot. So, and all of these men up front here are said to represent Virginians from different walks of life before they entered into military service. Okay, so like I said, we're pressed for time, so I can't hit everything and go in depth on everything, but this is a very famous part of the battlefield for Pickett's charge on July the 3rd, 1863. This is Spangler's Woods, and these are the woods where all the Confederate line come out of, headed to capture the Union Point on the other side of the battlefield, which is now known as the high water mark. So, and Bloody Angle is also there. So these are Spangler's Woods. If you've ever wondered what they look like, well, this is them at a quick drive-by. So we're not shooting. Okay, so one of my favorite generals from the American Civil War on the southern side was General Longstreet, and he played a key role here at Gettysburg. And like I said, I can't get it all into detail just because of time. I'm actually running out of time. It's almost 6 p.m. here in Gettysburg today, so I'll leave unfortunately in the morning. So I have to finish up everything I want to finish up, and it's been a feat. I have been able to cover almost everything of all 3 days of the battle. And when I say almost everything, I mean almost every major thing. But this is James Longstreet on his horse, and we're touching him. Okay, so with this, you can see the clump of trees way behind me back there, the high water mark. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna head over there. So shall we? Let's continue on. So like I said, not a lot of time. We can't stop to see everything, but this is a monument I've been wanting to see myself. This is a Louisiana monument commemorating the position of the Louisiana troops that were here fighting on July the 3rd. And then Longstreet's Corps was here, along with Mississippi men who were right here in this position, taking up the position behind this farmhouse. So we have just hit about the end of the line of the Confederate troops here. It goes down a little bit further, but this is the end of the line for us. And you can just imagine, that's a lot of men to cover this much ground. So attacking one spot on one field for the most part. So They were really attacking all over the field, but they had their eyes on that one middle spot. So anyway, on to the next spot, to the clump of trees. All right, so we're in a position of General James's Longstreet's headquarters. And this is the observation tower, the Longstreet observation tower. I'm thinking about going to the top. It is extremely windy today. And if you look right over there, that is the facing cannon for James Longstreet. And this is where his headquarters location was on the 3rd of July. And this is also part of President Eisenhower's Gettysburg farm, which he is from Gettysburg. You can look out there, part of his land. But all the way up there, wow. I don't know if I want to do that or not. What do you guys think? It's windy. I think, judging by other people who's coming down from the tower, I would not attempt that, even though I want to see the bird's eye view of Gettysburg. I don't want to see it really that bad. And I'm not really partial to heights, so yep, let's give it a whirl. We're going up. I'll see you guys at the top because I want to save battery here, and this may take a while. You know what? I'm this far off the ground so far. I am not doing this. No. I am chickening out. I didn't even make it past the lock gate. So we're coming down. Yeah. We are not going up there. We would just have to say that for a future trip to Gettysburg, and maybe let someone else show us some photos. Tell you what, I'll find some photos somewhere that someone's took up there. We'll use those because I'm not going. No, I'm not doing it. But if you guys want to know where President Eisenhower lived, Dwight D. Eisenhower, yes, one of my favorite presidents, because of the World War II stuff, you guessed it. Because he's General Eisenhower. But this is his farm, a partial of his farm behind us. So this is actually part of President Eisenhower's farm, and pretty neat. But as for that thing, now let's go to the high water mark instead. Just driving by, and notice this, if you look to the left, that is Little Round Top. That's where we were earlier on our adventure, where we almost got blown away. And then Big Round Top on the right. And this is roughly in the spot that General James Longstreet's corps was. And you can see clearly Devil's Den and Little Round Top from here. And the big monument that we were on top of earlier, you can see it in the distance. But Big Round Top, where the Confederates advanced up, and then over to Little Round Top, over this field. So it was a feat. But other than that, well, let's now head to the high water mark. All right, so you guys, I know you're probably going to ask, why won't you go in a little bit more detail? Well, the reason for that's quite simple, is because that you know, I don't know everything there is to know about this battle, so I'm still kind of learning myself. So in that, I don't want to tell you something that's wrong, which I probably already have made a mistake or two. And here's the Gettysburg is, it's an animal, okay? Gettysburg is so complex, so in-depth, and just so easy to mess up. And you know, unless you've been here, you don't know where everything's at. But it takes years of studying to figure out the Gettysburg you know, the Gettysburg system and what's going on with Gettysburg. But, you know, it takes a lot of study. So we have made it to the pinnacle. We're at the cusp of trees. This was reportedly the landmark that Longstreet used for his assault. This is what you see depicted in Gettysburg in the movie, and this is what you have read about hundreds of times. Now, the cusp of trees is the same cusp of trees that was here during the battle, and this is something that a lot of people want to see when they come to Gettysburg. This is probably the most visited spot of Gettysburg besides Little Round Top and those areas. So this is the pinnacle position for July the 3rd, 1863, with Pickett's charge and Longstreet's assault across the field that sits in front of these trees. And what's the cusp of trees? It's simply a little grouping of trees almost dead smack in the center of the Union line. You had General Hancock in this position. You had men of the Union Army trying to hold out right here as all of these Confederates made their way across the fields in front of you. The wood line that everyone talks about and that you see depicted in the movie Gettysburg, because that is something that everyone who is interested in Gettysburg has seen at some point. The wood line you see in front of you is the wood line depicted in the film when you have all of the Confederate units lined up for battle, ready to march in and charge the Union positions. That is the wood line. If you can see over straight in front of me in the field in the distance, that is reportedly where General Robert E. Lee watched this all go down. And General Lee was beyond himself. He took the blame for what happened here at Gettysburg as the men come back across the field after the charge had failed. They were wounded, dying. You see this depicted in the film as well. It's my fault. It's my fault. General Lee, you know, felt horrible for what had happened here at Gettysburg. This was one of the most gallant charges ever made by any military in our nation's history. And it was one of the most gallant defenses made by any military in the United States history. So you had our country making history against itself, basically. So this is the pinnacle of what everyone wants to see when they come to Gettysburg. You want to talk about Pickett's charge? You want to talk about what happened? It was right here. As they reached this stone wall you see in front of me, it was hand-to-hand fighting. You had double canister coming out of the cannons being fired at 10 yards. I mean, men were point blank in front of the barrel of a cannon with basically the lantern being pulled. Could you imagine that? There would be nothing left. But that happened right here at this cusp of trees. Now, as we make our way over here, you'll see the monument to the commanders who were here and to the men who fought here. Infantry commands which met Longstreet's assault: 2nd Corps, Hancock's the 2nd Division, Gibbons. So you had General Hancock here, and the 1st Brigade, Harrows, was composed of the 19th Maine, 15th Massachusetts, 1st Minnesota, 82nd New York Regiment, 2nd Brigade, Webb, 69th, 71st, 72nd, and 106th Pennsylvania, 3rd Brigade, Hall's 19th, 20th, 42nd, 59th New York, and 7th Michigan. So 20th Massachusetts, 19th Massachusetts, 42nd, and 59th New York, and 7th Michigan. And then you had all these sharpshooters here, which I'm not going to read every single one because it would just take forever. But then you have the commanders honored here. Repulse of Longstreet's assault. Longstreet was repulsed by Webb, Hall's, and Harrow's brigades of the Gibbons 2nd Division of the 2nd Army Corps, Smith and Willard's brigades, and portions of Carroll's brigade of Hayes Division 2nd Army Corps. 1st Massachusetts sharpshooters unattached, portions of Rowley's and Stanner's brigades of Doubleday's division of 1st Army Corps, Hazard's 2nd Corps Artillery Brigade, consisting of Woodruff, Arnold's, Cushing's, Brown's, and Rority's batteries, assisted on the right by Hill, Edgell, Eakin, Bancroft, Dillingers, and Taft's batteries on Cemetery Hills. So this was back at Cemetery Hill, and this was on the left by Cohen, Fitzhugh, Parson, Willard, Thomas, Daniels, Sterling, their batteries, McGilvery's Artillery Brigade, consisting of Thompson, Phillip, Hart's, Cooper's, Dawes, and Ames batteries, and Hazlett's battery on the Little Round Top, and supported by Doubleday's division of the 1st Army Corps, which was in position on the immediate left of the troops' assault. The 3rd Army Corps moved up to within supporting distance on the left. Robinson's division of the 1st Army Corps moved into support on the right. And then you've got the high water mark, and it talks about the cusp of trees. That was a landmark of his assault, and it's talking the assaulting columns of Longstreet consisted of Kemper, Garnett, Armistead, Pickett's division, was Archer, Davis, Pettigrew, Brokenhouse, East division, Scales, Lane's, Pender's division, Wilcox and Perry brigades, Anderson's division was kept on the left by Thomas and McGowan's brigades, Pender's division, Anderson's division, Cabell's division, Alexander's battalion, Eshland's battalion, Deary's battalion, Cutts battalion, Pogue's battalion, Packer's battalion, McIntosh's battalion, Carter's battalion, and Brown's battalion. A lot of men. A lot of men. And this is where it all come to a head right here. Now, one of the things I did find interesting here, and I want to share with you as well, is double canister at 10 yards, July 3rd, 1863, Collins, New York, 1st New York Battery, Artillery Brigade, sit score. What does that mean? Double canister at 10 yards. I'll say canister is a type of shot used during the war. It's basically kind of like little balls of shrapnel. Except it's not shrapnel, it's round balls. When fired, those little balls come out and they fly everywhere. Meaning that you're going to get more kills from a canister shot, which is what they did at 10 yards. But when we talk about the high water mark, this is what we talk about. This is the high water mark for the Confederacy. This is where they wanted to charge from. I mean, this is what they wanted to take, excuse me. And this is also the location of the Bloody Angle. This is where so many men fought, died. It's, you know, you have Confederate generals who gave their life in this position. You have Union generals that's wounded and give their life in this position. You've got so many men who lost their lives right here. I mean, look at the monuments. It would take me forever, literally forever, to get all of these positions down. I can't do it in one video. I can't do it in one series. But this is your view here. So let's talk a little bit about what happened here. What actually happened here. So July the 3rd, there was a change of plans. Following the fighting on July the 2nd, Confederate General Robert E. Lee ordered Generals Edwell and Longstreet to launch a coordinated morning assault on both ends of the Union line. Around 4:30 a.m., however, this plan fell apart when Federal artillery fired on Cupp's Hill, forcing Edwell to accelerate his attack. Longstreet's men did not advance. Lee revised his battle plan, boldly deciding to attack what he has believed the weakest point in the Union position, which is the center. And this is the center of the Union position where we're at right now in this location. So by ordering a charge across a low open field like those right here in front of us from that wood line, you know, the enemy had a high ground, so it was an enormous risk. Longstreet actually objected Lee. He said, no 15,000 men, General, ever arrayed for a battle that could take that position. But Lee said, well, we're going to do it. By God, we're going to do it. Which explains Lee's aftermath of how he felt.
Sir, I've been a soldier all my life. I have served from the ranks on up. You know my service. But, sir, I must tell you now, I believe this attack will fail. No 15,000 men ever made can take that ridge. It's a distance of more than a mile over open ground. When the men come out of the trees, they will be under fire of Yankee artillery from all over the field. And those are Hancock's boys. And now they have the stone wall like we did at Fredericksburg.
We do our duty, General. We do what we must do.
Yes, sir.
Colonel Alexander is in charge of the artillery, and he is very good. We will depend on him to drive them off the ridge before any of your divisions get there.
Yes, sir.
And the men will know what to do. All 15,000 will concentrate squarely on the center of that line, that low ridge there. The line is not strong there. General Meade has great strength on both flanks. He must be weak in the center. I estimate his strength in the center not to be more than 5,000 men. And Colonel Alexander's artillery will break them up the way he did at Fredericksburg.
Yes, sir.
Very well.
From 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, 150 Confederate cannons on that opposite ridge pounded this area. It was one of the biggest cannonades to ever happen in modern history. They were hoping to destroy the Union artillery prior to assaulting the center of the Union line. And he ordered these cannon to open fire on this position. The afternoon sky darkened with smoke and dust. Union guns returned to fire from this position to, as you can see right here in this position to my right, you can see cannons as far as you can see. Federal soldiers flattened themselves against the trembling ground to escape the cannonballs. So soldiers are actually laying flat on this ground in this area as artillery bombardment from the Southern armies wreaked havoc along this ridge. They killed horses, men, it dismounted guns, but a lot of those guns overshot this position to that area. So, yeah, it really wasn't effective like they had hoped. So when the Union guns slackened on this side that was pounding the southern side, that was on purpose. They wanted them to think, hey, you've got us here, you know, you've pinched us off, your bombardment has worked, it's silenced a lot of our guns. That is Lee's idea to attack. That is his basic saying, okay, the Union guns on this side of Pickett, of, you know, the cusp of trees have silenced down a bit. We've cut them short. It's time for us to go. So that's what these men did. They had charged across this field, and it was led by 3 generals, General Pickett, J. Johnston, Pettigrew, and Isaac Trimble. 12,000 Confederate soldiers were involved in the attack. They emerged from the woods, which is, believe it or not, a mile to our front. On the left were Pickett's 5,500 Virginians in that area. And to the right were the divisions of Pettigrew and Trimble. Their battle line stretched over a mile, and they advanced towards this Union position. This is the center. This is the high ground. This is the high watermark for the Confederacy. Lieutenant Tully McRae, 1st U.S. Artillery, said the slaughter was dreadful. Against all odds, they continued forward. So even with everything that they're doing here, charging across this field, the Union guns just pouring artillery into them. When they get in gun range, the muskets are tearing apart their lines. They're still coming forward. And the Union guys in this position, half of them can't even believe it. But you can imagine all those men pushing from that area. Now, when they reach this stone wall in front of us, despite heavy losses, clusters of these Confederate soldiers pushed toward the angle stone, and this has become known as the Bloody Angle. General Lewis Armistead, you may remember this from the movie Gettysburg, jabbed his hat onto his saber and waved it in the air and said, "Come on, men, push forward." He said, boys, give them cold steel. You know, that's what he was yelling. He was just coming across. And when they reached this wall, both forces collided in the hand-to-hand combat. They were struggling, pushing, fighting, killing, stabbing each other with bayonets, you know, biting. I mean, there was all kinds of things happening right here in this stone wall in front of us. Federal reinforcements surged into the fight from the rear and from the sides, and they basically surrounded the Southern Army. Armistead fell. He was killed here. He was mortally wounded here in this location as he attacked the Bloody Angle. And the few that escaped made their way back this direction towards Cemetery Ridge. But this is the Bloody Angle. And General Armistead, you've got, that is, fell right here as well. And this is it. This is the pinnacle of Gettysburg. The Southern Army was beaten as they retreated back across the field, back to Lee. Lee, you know, it's my fault. It's my fault. Lee felt so bad about what had happened here. This ground right here that we're on is stained with so many, you know, lives of men and the blood of men. And General Armistead fell right here. This is where he was found. And you'll see that also in Gettysburg. But this is the Bloody Angle. This is where it all come to a head and where it all ended in Gettysburg. So, and you can, when standing here, you can kind of tell what's going on here. You got Lee, you've got Hancock, you got Meade, you've got Reynolds, you've got all these men. Reynolds, of course, was killed during the first day's battle. But all these men who etched their way into history right here in this spot on a Bloody Angle. So this is the ground of the last assault by the Philadelphia Brigade. General Alexander S. Webb held this angle July the 2nd and 3rd, 1863. He suffered 495 casualties. The 72 Pennsylvania Volunteers Philadelphia Fire Zwabs, commanded up under Colonel D.W.C. Baxter, lost 10 officers, 182 men, and out of 473 present for duty, the regiment erects this fallen tribute to the memory of their fallen comrades. So in this spot, a lot of men lost their lives, and you can just look out across here, man, and tell that this is the high ground, but the Confederates wanted it. So you had General Hancock, who was wounded, Armistead, who's killed, and the Confederate forces up under Robert E. Lee have been defeated. And then you have the 69th Regiment of the Pennsylvania Volunteers, July the 2nd and 3rd, monument right in front of me. The Irishmen, the Irish Brigade, the men who had already did so much over the past day here in Gettysburg, and then pushed to this position and held their ground right here. So this is where all the Irishmen fought. Very cool. So I'm not going to go to where General Hancock was wounded himself, but was in this general vicinity. This is it. This is the pinnacle of Gettysburg. This is the bloody angle. This is the high water mark. So until next time, guys, keep preserving history. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.
For more information, feel free to visit the History Underground here on YouTube, and as well the American Battlefield Trust, to find out more about how you can help preserve history. On the next episode of History Saver 1941, we will cover the Lincoln-Gettysburg Address. So until next time, keep preserving history, stay safe, thank you for watching.